Waiting on God, Day 1. The God of our salvation. Truly, my soul silently waits for God. From Him comes my salvation. Psalm 62, 1. If salvation indeed comes from God and is eternally His work, just as creation was, it follows that our first and highest duty is to wait on God to complete that work as it pleases Him. Waiting becomes then the only way to experience our full salvation and the only way to know the God of our salvation. Any difficulty we have in experiencing our full salvation is caused by this one thing, the defective knowledge and practice of waiting upon God. All that the church and its members need for the manifestation of the mighty power of God in the world is the return to our true place, that place where we truly belong, both in creation and in redemption, the place of absolute and unceasing dependence upon God. You may wonder what elements make up this most blessed and needful waiting upon God, and why this practice is of so little cultivated. As we answer those questions, may we begin to feel how infinitely desirable it is that the church, that we ourselves, should at any price learn its blessed secret. The deep need for this waiting on God lies equally in the nature of humankind and in the nature of God. God as creator formed Adam to be a vessel from which his power and goodness would flow. Adam did not have in himself a fountain of life or strength or happiness. The ever-living one was each moment the communicator to Adam of all that he needed. Adam's glory and blessedness were neither independent nor dependent upon himself, but dependent on the God of infinite riches and love. Adam had the joy of receiving every moment out of the fullness of God. This was his blessedness as an unfallen creature. When Adam fell away from God, he became even more dependent on him, not less. He had not the slightest hope of recovery from his state of sin or death, except in God through His power and mercy. It is God alone who began the work of redemption. It is God alone who continues that work each moment in each individual believer. Even in the regenerate person, there is no power of goodness in oneself. The believer has and can have nothing that is not each moment received. Waiting on God is just as indispensable and must be just as continuous and unbroken as the breathing that maintains one's natural life. It is only because Christians do not realize their relation to God of absolute poverty and helplessness that they have no sense of their need of absolute and unceasing dependence, or of the unspeakable blessedness of continual waiting on God. But once a believer begins to sense it and consent to it, then the Holy Spirit gives each moment what God each moment works. Waiting on God becomes the believer's brightest hope and joy. Finally, apprehending how God, as infinite love, delights to impart His own nature to His child, how God doesn't grow weary of each moment, keeping charge of His child's life and strength. The believer wonders why he or she ever thought of God as anything other than as a God to be waited on all day long. God unceasingly giving and working, His child unceasingly waiting and receiving. This is the blessed life. Truly my soul silently waits for God. For Him comes my salvation. First, we wait on God for salvation. Then we learn that salvation merely brings us to God in order to teach us to wait on Him more. And finally, we find what is better still, what waiting on God is itself, the highest salvation. It is the ascribing to Him the glory of being all. It is the experiencing that He is all to us. May God teach us the blessedness of waiting on Him. My soul, wait only on God.